Welcome to the Danny Miner podcast. Believe it or not, this is episode 22 already. And God, all hell is breaking loose in New Jersey. And we might talk to our guest a little bit about that. If anybody doesn't know, there's drones all over New Jersey. But first, we got to talk crime. And we have a top comedian from Las Vegas, Angie. Top comedian. How long you been doing this?
15 years.
15 years. All right. Can we ask you one question, Angie? Your
Yeah.
first time you ever did it, was it hard? Like, did you screw up your first time?
It was extremely hard, and I had to get just drunk enough that I wasn't slurring my words.
Well, listen to the fans out there. I'm going to tell you, I went to see Angie, and you were funny as hell. You were
Thank you
funny,
so
and
much.
you know what? I really liked that establishment. I went back 2 weeks ago. I did it. I went and saw the comedians 2 weeks ago. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great show. I love that venue as well.
Yeah, it's good because it's kind of like family, you know. Somebody's going up to
Mhm.
tell jokes, the next person goes up to tell jokes. And you know what? I don't know if our friend there was telling you. I'm thinking about throwing my ring in this. I might try
Oh,
this.
really? Oh, you
I'm
should.
thinking about it.
Yeah, you've definitely got something.
Yeah, it would be fun. I mean, but you were great. You were definitely the best comedian there. Don't tell our police friend that I said that. But you were
I
definitely the
won't.
best comedian there that night. So I'm sure he might even be listening. But listen, you have a crazy story for us. How long you live in Vegas?
I've lived in Vegas for about 23 years.
Okay. Oh my gosh. So where did you come from? Nobody their whole life has been there. I don't find anybody that's been there their whole life.
You're starting to find them more now, but I'm from a town. It's about 5 hours away from here. It's called Pine Top, Arizona. It's a
Oh,
really
okay.
small, like hunting, fishing town. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I moved here after I retired. I moved here 9 years ago. It's actually my ninth year here. I
Oh,
love this city. I'm going nowhere. I love it.
yeah, I love the city too. I went to LA for a small stint, chasing the dream and everything like that. And COVID brought me back here, but I was there for like 6 years, but I was still coming back here for my day job.
Oh, okay, okay. That's understandable. So now listen, last year you had some excitement. I do all true crime. I do true crime on TikTok. I do a true crime podcast. What happened last year? Could you get us into it? What happened? Because a lot of my stuff I do on TikTok is domestic violence, violence against women. I really stick up for women's rights. That's a big thing with my TikTok. 70% of my followers out of my 375,000 followers are women.
Okay.
So I really do. I'm totally against domestic violence, violence against women. That is basically 80% of my TikTok. So I really wanted to come in and tell your scary story. I heard a little bit about it and it's scary. So if you could come on and let us know, start from the beginning. And we
Okay.
got Philly in the house. See, I got, now that you said Philly, I got to show. I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. Huge.
So, should I mean, can I say his last name? I mean,
If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can say his first name. That's fine.
okay. I mean, it might come out, I mean, I don't care if
I
anybody knows it.
understand. Yeah, I
So,
understand. And I mean, it's
um,
public knowledge. I mean, it's been out there, so people know.
yeah, I mean, there's videos out there of this and the,
Right.
other things. So,
Yeah. So you
okay.
met some guy in Vegas, right? Last year.
Yeah, it was a couple days after 4th of July on 2023. A
Okay.
mutual friend introduced this guy, Paul, to me. And we
Okay.
instantly had like this magnetic attraction. And pretty much we started dating, sleeping together right away.
Okay.
And, but something that was interesting was a week after we were dating, I was like, you know what? My intuition's telling me something's off about this guy. But I also was on my period at the same time. So I called the son of a bitch back. Well, right around then, I was moving into a really nice apartment. It's a high rise on the Las Vegas Strip, right? Well, as soon as he found that out, like he did come and help me do a lot of unpacking, but he pretty much was living here. And
Uh,
so we dated for 4 months. Well, everything was great in the beginning and stuff like that. But then as time went by and we'd start to argue, um, something was always kind of off about him. But then other times he was very, very sweet. Like he would write me poetry and he'd cook me meals and give me massages. Um, But then we got into an argument one time and he came at me, and the way his face changed, I was like, this son of a bitch is gonna hit me. Well, what he did, he grabbed my arm, and he grabbed it so hard it was like black for like 2 months.
Oh my God.
And then he spun me around and started spanking me, and he was calling me a bad bear.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this isn't domestic violence. This is child abuse. Like, what the fuck is that? You know?
Oh my
Well,
God.
yeah. And I don't know. Anyways, so then he, after that, like when we would get into arguments, it's like it started getting a little bit worse. Like one time he pinned me down and tried to like cover my mouth and nose, and then he let me go. And I was like, hey man, this stuff can't happen, you know?
Right.
And so then I was like, you have mental problems. You need, you know, and there was a couple other times he tried to put his hands on me. One time I had a guest in my spare room. They had to save me. And after that, I go, you know what? I said, I want your stuff out of my house by the end of the day. By this time, it was middle of October.
Okay.
So I was like, I want your stuff out of my house. I was like, well, I'm going to call the cops to remove you. And so when I got home that day, he was gone. And then on Halloween, he came over that morning. Oh, also another thing, he and I didn't really start having big problems until he started speaking to his mother again.
Okay.
And then, anyways, so Halloween morning, he came to get the last couple things he had here. And I have a mirror by my front door. So we were getting ready to leave. Well, he was arguing with his mother on speakerphone. He set it down and he grabbed me like this with one arm, because he was a lot bigger than me, with one arm so that I couldn't move my body. And then he took his other arm across here and he started choking me. And then he spun to face the mirror so he could look at himself while he was killing me. I mean, it was that fast. I couldn't do anything.
Oh my God.
And the only thing I could think of was drop my legs out from underneath me and pretend like I'm dead, you know? And it's the only thing that saved my life. So from there, his mom heard the whole thing too. And so I'm like, you're a monster, you know. And so anyways, I got a restraining order against him because of that. But then like the harassment kept going, like he didn't give a shit, you know. And he put a tracking device on my truck. And then he had a tracking device in here. It was like an Apple AirTag. So anytime he would, you know, walk past my building, it would activate his AirTag. And so, and it gave me a little map because my phone would go unknown tracking device detected. And then it showed me a little map of him like walking up this street or walking around the front of the building and stuff. Thank God it's highly secure. I think it's one of the only things that saved my life.
Oh my God.
And this went back and forth, like as far as like they couldn't find him at first to give him the restraining order. So then he had to push back the court date, you know. Anyway, so then he finally, I hadn't heard anything from him since February. So let's fast forward to August 8th. And also, you know, the tracking device was firing up more this summer that I noticed, that I was like, I think that fucker's going to try to get a hold of me. And because all the text message he would send, like, and it's like, we can go into how crazy he was, but let me tell the whole story the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So on August 8th, he went down to Irvine to see his mother. And again, he always talked about how bad he hated her and stuff like that. And they ended up arguing out in her driveway. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon. And they could tell that the neighbors could tell that he had a knife in his hand, but he was covering it with like a bag or a t-shirt or something. And then I guess just to sum it up, he got his mom down on the ground and he stabbed her to death. And then,
oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm shaking just talking about it. And then the cops showed up and he charged the cops with the knife in his hand, and they shot him, I think it was 6 times, and killed him.
Oh my God. You got it. You were so lucky.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I was even thinking, I was like, the day he was choking me, I was like, if the knife block would have been closer, what if he wouldn't? And even he snapped out of it and goes, I wasn't trying to hurt you. He's like, I love you. And I was like, you almost fucking killed me, man. Like, and I could barely even speak. Like, I couldn't swallow for a week. Like, it was, yeah. So, and I think like he switched psychosis and thought that I was his mom or something.
Oh my God. That is crazy. Oh my God. I can't even think it. You know, I have 2, my daughters, Angie, are 28 and 32. And I worry about them so much because the violence against women is just going up and up. I swear I probably do 2 videos a day on violence against women. It's just horrible. So can I ask you this? Because I know my kids, my daughters, they use dating apps, they use this, they use that. Where did you say you met him? You just met him out, or did you meet him on a dating app?
No, I didn't meet him on a dating app. So there was this guy that I met that came out and did a guest spot at a comedy show I was on. And
Okay.
then he was in town for some other business, just as comedy as a hobby. And so,
Right.
he came to another show while he was in town. And then before he left town, he goes, "Hey, I want to take you and Paul out to eat." And that was the first time Paul and I got to meet. And we were just like magnets. And
You're right.
he's a very handsome guy. He's very attractive.
Right.
So,
Good personality, right? Probably. You
oh yeah,
probably didn't realize anything.
very charismatic. It's like you get him in a room, he knows how to dress, and yeah, he'll sweep you off your feet.
Yeah.
So
Let me ask you this, and I probably know the answer already, but did he have a criminal record before this?
So I didn't know, like I knew about a couple things here and there. Like he talked about an ex-girlfriend that him and her would get into it and they'd beat each other up and stuff like that. And then I got to see his criminal record after he died. And yeah, he had a pretty decent sized criminal record, and he had court coming up in September, and he was looking at like 10 years in prison, and it was all the same stuff like battery, domestic abuse. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you didn't know at all what you got into.
No, not at all. It's like, and then like, he told me that he was on the spectrum, and I was like, okay, well, so I looked up dating somebody that's on the spectrum. And so
Right.
I changed a few ways that I would speak to him or come at him if I was mad at him. And things got a
Right.
little bit better, yeah. It's like for a short time. So,
Oh
but
my gosh.
also then I found out he never got tested for that. And oh gosh, that again, like there was things like towards the end, it's like I really think that I was like, you just need medication. You have such bad mental problems, maybe even go to like a crazy, like he thought his best friend was a shape-shifting alien. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
my
just
God.
yeah, like, and that started coming out towards the end when he really started getting crazy on me.
Did this make national news last year or no?
Well, him killing his mom just happened like 4 months ago.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, it was on August 8th. So I think it did, but I'm not sure. I mean, I know it hit the news here because he lived here, and I know it was all over California news.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
That's just crazy. I mean, to think that you could just meet somebody and you know what? We have apps for everything, right, Angie? I
yeah,
just came up with a good business idea. We need an app for women that they could go on this app and check men out. You run their name, what's their criminal record? It should tell you everything. We need an app for women.
yeah,
That's going to be my new
exactly.
thing.
Well, you
It
know
would
what?
help. And as scary as that is, I think maybe women should do background checks. They should at least go on the internet, look up court records, stuff like that, because you don't know what you're getting into.
Well, when I first
Somebody
met
can
him,
sweet talk you. You know what I mean?
he was going by a different last name when I met him. And
Oh God.
then he got something delivered to my house with his real name on it. And I go, "What's your real last name?" And then he would be so vague with me. But I finally figured
Right.
out, which one was his real name and which one was just kind of like his professional name or whatever,
Right. What
And
did he do for a living? Was he a comedian too?
no, God.
Yeah, I guess not.
Um, but he claimed to be like an investment banker, but he was the brokest investment banker I've ever fucking met. He was always on the phone and like talking to people and like working on deals and stuff, but he never brought any money into my house. Like his mom finally gave me $200 towards the power bill. And like, yeah, and I got to speak to her quite a few times as well. And she was like, "I'm terrified of my son." And I was like,
Oh,
"You should not go visit her." Yeah, I was like, "She's a trigger for you."
right. Oh
Yeah.
my God. How old of a man was he?
So, okay, check this out. This is crazy too.
All right.
She gave birth to him on her 35th birthday. So they had the same birthday and now the same death day as well. So he was gonna be
Oh
30.
my God, is that weird?
Yeah. He was gonna be
Oh my
38
God.
in September.
So
He
his
would have
mom
been.
and him have the same birth date and the same death date.
Yeah, isn't that
That's
insane?
insane.
Yeah.
So how old was he? Like was he in his 50s or?
No, he was getting ready to turn 38.
Okay, 38. Still still a middle-aged man,
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah. And he was
I
very
mean,
smart.
right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my God. That is so did you know anything else about his life before this? Did he go to college? I mean, it's so weird that somebody would do something like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to experience firsthand that, he was capable of domestic violence, but I would never thought that, never think that anybody's going to go as far as killing, somebody, let alone their mother, like,
Right.
but both of his parents were college professors. He had a
Oh,
college degree. His sister's a psychologist. Yeah, he came from well-educated upbringing and like a wholesome family. I know his parents were divorced, but he just talked all the time about how his mom like just fucked up and raising them and how bad he hated her. And I'd hear him scream at her on the phone. I'm like, don't talk. I'm like, touch your mother with respect. Yeah.
right.
It was always
Oh
about,
my God.
yeah. And a lot of it was about money. He wanted her to give him money
Right.
because
Oh my gosh.
their family was wealthy. They had a lot of money.
Was he married
No, he's never,
before?
no, no kids.
Oh, oh gosh, this is just a crazy story, but you never know. I mean, you hear stories like this all the time. You're actually lucky you got out of this and you survived it because you hear stories like this all the time. And I don't know if you know this. I was a cop for 27 years. I was a detective for 14 of them 27 years. And I can tell you this, ladies. If a man puts his hands on you, he's always going to put his hands on you.
Yep.
They don't get away from that. They
Yep.
don't get away from it. If a man puts his hands on you, he's always going to put his hands on you. And that's a man you need to stay away from, really, honestly.
Yep, absolutely. It's like I grew up in an abusive, had an abusive childhood. And then when my dad and I were able to mend fences when I got older, he was a product of his environment, But anyway,
Right.
but yeah, it's like he did it a couple times and I said, no, I said, I'm not putting up with this shit. I said, I did it when I was a kid. There's no way I'm going to have my boyfriend doing it to me. And then when I broke,
Right.
when he snapped too, it's like he realized that he was never coming back into the department. Like he was never going to see me again, and he
Yeah.
just like, but again, it's like he would do that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And Ashley here made a comment. Yeah, men like that don't realize how strong they are compared to women. And
Yeah.
honestly, she's right. I mean, men don't realize that, you can get the weakest man and the strongest woman, and that weakest man is still double the strength of that woman. And men don't understand that. Just pushing a woman, you can kill her by pushing her because
Yeah.
of our strength.
Yep.
And it scares the hell out of me, honestly. Like I said, I have two daughters, one 28, one 32. And already they're starting to hate men already because they've had bad experiences with men too.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. We have an epidemic. Men need to start going to counseling. That's the problem. We don't get help. That honestly, I truly believe that.
Yeah, but a lot of these fuckers won't do it. Kept telling him, I was like, we just need to change a couple things. I was like, because there was a lot, like he would send me poetry and, write me, 20 things I love about you. Like he could be so sweet. And he was a lot of the time, but then there was also things that went on where it wasn't even his mental illness. He would just be a complete fucking asshole, and it's like,
Right.
no, that's not cool either. So,
Right.
and like with regarding what she said, it's like I'm not a small girl. I'm 5'9" and I weigh like, I don't know, like 160 pounds, 155 pounds. And so he was 2 inches taller than me, but he just, he was, like he was solid muscle. I don't even think he
Right.
knew his own strength. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is just so scary. I think back when I was a cop, this time of year, like Christmas, holidays, always domestics, always problems. We had suicides, but mostly domestics. I remember I was a rookie cop. Christmas Eve, I went to a domestic where the father broke all the Christmas presents, beat up the mother, damaged the Christmas tree. I had three little kids crying in there, thinking Santa Claus is coming, but I'm taking their dad to jail. And you know what? That was the first time I thought, why am I doing this fucking job? Honestly, that's what I thought because it depressed the shit out of me. It really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. It's like, God, it's like being drunk or just being a dick or, like.
He was drunk. He was drunk. Half the time, it comes back to alcohol, drugs. Listen, here's the thing. Alcohol, when I was a cop, say we went on 12 calls a shift. 11 out of them 12 calls are because of alcohol. 11 out of the 12. And we make marijuana look so bad, but the worst drug out there is alcohol. And
Yeah,
the only reason we
absolutely.
accept it is because it's legal. You know what I mean? That's the only reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I
like
mean,
nobody's
I
gonna
never
get.
went to a call where everybody was high, where they were beating each other up. But when they're
That's
drunk,
what I
they're
was gonna
definitely
say.
beating each other. When they're high, they can't even get off the chair, so they're not going to beat each other up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nobody's gonna, get up and beat the shit out of their wife and kids, or
Yes.
rip up and break Christmas presents because
No,
they
when they're
smoked a
high, they
joint.
don't even. They just want to eat and laugh and watch TV. Lucky they
Yeah,
can get up off the
exactly.
couch.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
alcohol, being a cop, like I said, 90% of the calls I went on were because of alcohol. You know what I mean? Really, honestly, even the fights in the bars, the fights at home, anywhere, you could say alcohol is going to be involved somewhere. But I mean, domestic violence right now is just, it's out of control. And I see the new cops not making arrests. When I was a cop, Angie, any signs of domestic violence, we made an arrest. Like, say I came to your house, right?
Yeah,
And you're telling me, oh, like the neighbors called in and said, we heard arguments, we heard banging, we heard this. And I walk into that house and you and your boyfriend come out, and 99% of the time, the woman doesn't want to say it. So if you were
arguing.
telling me nothing happened and he's saying nothing happened, and I don't see injuries on you, but I see the house a wreck, I see chairs laying, I see pillows, and I could say there's a fight, we have to make an arrest. And
Okay.
that's all because of O.J. Simpson. Believe it or not,
Oh
the
wow.
cops that go to O.J.'s house and not arrest O.J., he was friends with all the LAPD. He was friends with all of them, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't make an arrest. And because of that, that's when this all came, that if we even see signs of domestic violence, we can make an arrest.
Yeah. But it needs to be done more. I
It
mean,
has to
actually, you
be.
know what? So when I called 911, so after he let me go, and we had put, because his car was in the shop. So I
Right,
had to give him a ride to get him the fuck out of my house, because I was like, if I say anything or do anything with him here with me, it's like he might attack me again. So I
right.
just had to pretend and be like, let's get your stuff to your house. And he's like, can I still come back over with you? And I said, sure, let's just get everything in your house. I had to just play along with this fucking psycho.
Right.
So we get his stuff in his house, and I'm going to take my beach wagon out. I had a truck at the time. So I put my beach wagon away, and I see him like running out with a big duffel bag full of clothes. And I go, no, what do you think you're doing? I said, no. I said, you're not coming with me. We're done. So I jump in my truck, and right when I hit the lock button, he threw my door open. And he hit the unlock button, and he jumped in my back seat. And
Oh my God.
so I jumped out of my car and I just started walking. I took my keys, I took my phone, and I just started walking away. And that's when I called 911. And I told them, I was like, he won't get out of my car, and this. So they're like, okay, someone's on their way. Well, then he texts me and he goes, I got out of your car. You can come back. So I could see it, enough that he wasn't in there. So unless he was laying down, but it's like I was still on the phone with the cops. So, um, and I was like, okay, I was like, he got out. I started driving away. I go, I guess you guys don't need to come anymore. And they go, no, for situations like this, they said, we're coming. And I was like, okay, I was like, well, you know what? I want to add to this. So,
Right.
and then when they got here, that's when I told them about how he tried choking me.
Did they arrest him or no?
No, they couldn't find him. They never were able to find him. And then when I tried to get a process server to serve him, and I told them, or I guess they must have looked up the restraining order with what I said. They
Uh,
said we're not doing this. They said get a private investigator.
Oh my God. And
Because
and let me explain that to everybody out there about protection from abuse orders. That's what we called it in Pennsylvania. And basically what PFAs are, they're only a piece of paper, but it's basically the court saying you cannot go by her, call her, have any contact whatsoever. If they do, they immediately go to jail. They're arrested, they go to jail. But it's only a piece of paper. It does not protect you. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
it's a good thing because if they do violate it, they call you. You can put them in jail. But I always say, to me, when that's served, it's kind of dangerous too because men will go off. They'll come to your house. So it is just a piece of paper, but I do recommend getting it because it gives the police ammo enough to arrest them then. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
And that's a good thing. And 9 times out of 10, the judge is putting him in if he violates that. So that's the other good thing. At least he's going to go to jail if he violates it.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
like, and with so with him, he kept calling and texting me. So I just put his messages on mute, and I was like, you know what? I was like, this is just more stuff to show to the cops. But again, they couldn't find him. Like he was
Right.
either not at home or he just wouldn't answer his door because he knew. I
Right.
said, I'm getting a restraining order against you. I was like, you need to stay the fuck away from me, you know? And then he would
Right.
call me and he'd be like, why are you stalking me? And I was like, who's the crazy one? Like he was, yeah, he had all these friends thinking that I was crazy, and like I'm like, how do you not see that he is mentally unstable?
Right. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you a good story where a woman got back at her husband. I used to go to domestics at this house, honestly, 3 or 4 times every 6 months. We were getting called there, domestic arguments. We arrested the husband a couple times for hitting her, taking him to jail, then the charges would get dropped, all that stuff. The one day, Angie, I go there, the husband answers the door with a stab wound right through his nose. She stabbed him on the side of the nose and it went through the other side. I'm telling you, it took everything in my power not to laugh when he answered that door because she stabbed him right through the nose. I'll
Oh my
never forget it. The guy, honestly, he had a slit right here and a slit through the other side. Somehow she stabbed him right through and it went through the other side. It was awesome. Honest to
oh my
God, it was
god.
awesome.
You
I
should have
know.
given him
So
body jewelry.
yes, she said he came at her and she friggin' let him have it with the knife. And she stabbed her with a steak knife and it went right through his nose. And believe me, he deserved it. He deserved more than that, the way he used to beat her. And we used to go to court and then she wouldn't testify and then the charges would get dropped. You know what I mean? But as a cop, you still have to make the arrest. That
Yeah.
is your job. You have to make that arrest. And I see a lot of these young cops not making the arrest. You still have to make the arrest because you're at least protecting her that night and getting him into jail. You know what I mean?
Yep. Um,
So,
I saw on the Irvine Police Department's, I think it was their Instagram page,
uh,
one of his ex-girlfriends commented on it, and she left this big long thing saying that him and her used to date, and he not only did, you know, like he would beat her up, he would threaten her, he would stalk her, and she said that she would get him arrested, and other women would get him arrested, and
uh,
they just let him go. They let him go all the time, and he would just be right back to it.
oh my gosh, that is horrible. And you know what I think? Listen, here's another thing. We mandate DUIs, right? DUI arrest. Your second DUI arrest. I'm going to go by Pennsylvania because that's where I was a cop. But after your second DUI in Pennsylvania, you have to go to jail for 2 days.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Your third DUI is 30 days and it goes on. But there's mandates. There's no negotiation. You get convicted, it's mandate you're going to jail. Maybe we should do that with domestic violence. Mandate 6 months in jail. You know what I mean? We got to do something because these guys are getting probation for this 5, 6 times. They're beating up 5, 6 women and getting probation.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just not
exactly.
right.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, and then another thing people ask me, they're like, you know, was he a drinker? And actually, no, he would drink, but it'd be like if we went out somewhere or like if we were, you know, so he didn't drink very often. Like I actually drank more than he did because he was driving me fucking crazy. But anyways,
Right.
and but like, and then like sometimes like his friends would hit him up and go, hey, you want to go to a club and do some ecstasy? And he'd be like, sure, you know what I mean? But other than that, like, oh, and he'd smoke pot sometimes, but other than that, like he wasn't a big substance user. So he had to have caffeine though. He had to have caffeine. That was kind of odd, but
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Some of the comments there, I don't know if you could see them. You know, she's right. The first DUI in Pennsylvania is 3 days if you never had a criminal record. They have like an ARD program, it's called. And if you get your first DUI and you never had a criminal record and drugs were not involved, they give you like just probation. But if you had another criminal record, yep, she's right. Your first DUI is 3 days.
okay.
So maybe we need to do that with other things to stop it. I mean, DUI is serious, don't get me wrong, especially in this city. We've had some horrible, horrible accidents in this
Oh
city.
yeah.
But you need to mandate other things. Like, we negotiate too much shit. Like, somebody that puts their hand or punches a woman should go to jail. There should be mandate jail. There shouldn't be probation for that. I'm sorry. That's something you can't come back from. That's not a probation offense. That should be jail. And we have to change that.
Well, and
I
also
really believe that.
while they're in jail, they should make them do mandatory like psychiatric evaluations.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
do they have a substance problem, or, is there a bigger issue?
Exactly. And you know what? That brings up another point, and I've been saying this for years. Our criminal justice system is not rehabilitating anybody.
Yeah.
Okay? They get out of jail, and most of them 6 months later they're going back. Listen,
Yep.
I would take people to jail, honest to God, Angie, every weekend. And when I would take them back, the prison guards would know them. They would say, "Hey, Jim, welcome back. You said you weren't coming back." "I know, I got arrested again." The prison guards know these guys. It's
Wow.
just like a revolving door. They just keep going to jail. Honestly, it's crazy how people are. It really is.
Yeah. What was it? In the state of Arizona, I heard that like 90% of the people that go to jail, they always come back and they end up spending a lot of times their life in there eventually, Arizona's
Yes.
really strict on DUIs because, since I'm from Arizona, it's like they're really strict on DUI. So people don't
Yeah.
fuck around as much as they used to, but they should be, again, more on domestic violence.
Yeah. And you know what? You brought up a good point. I mean, when we were cops, like we would look at somebody and we'd say, "Yeah, he got arrested a couple times," or we would say, "Oh, that mother effer, he's a career criminal." That means he's never straightened out. His career is being a criminal. I mean, that's what he does for a living. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So we could call them career criminals. But Ashley's bringing up some good questions. People out here don't realize people in prison don't play when it comes to women and children. She is right. And let me
Oh
tell you,
yeah, absolutely right.
when I first retired and moved to Vegas, I didn't know what I was going to do before I became social media content creator. So I
Okay.
worked for a defense attorney. So I
Okay.
came out here, they hired me as a cop to work for a defense attorney. And she is 100% right. My clients at that law firm would tell me when they went to jail, soon as they got into jail, one guy would come up to them, "Let me see your paperwork." They want to know what you were arrested for. You better show the guy who's running the prison, and I don't mean the prison guards. I mean the big dude that's running the prison will come up to you, get your paperwork, and if it has anything to do with children or women, you're done. You're getting beat up. They're going to beat you up. If they're just DUI charges or something like that, they're like, "You're good." But if it's children and women, you're in trouble. Even ethics in prison, you know?
I've heard
It's
that before.
crazy.
I've
Yeah.
heard that. Yeah, and I completely forgot about that. But yeah, Ashley, that's an excellent point to make. Yeah, they
And
don't fuck
Ashley's
around.
probably right. The guards probably look the other way. They probably tell these guys, "Yeah, I'm going to go over here. It's going to give you 40 seconds to beat him up." I'm sure that happens. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we'd be
absolutely.
stupid to believe it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough friends that have been to jail or prison that I mean they can tell stories that they saw or witnessed firsthand.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally crazy that you think of all these men in there that are criminals, but yet they still have that ethics like, "Yo, you don't put your hand on a woman, you don't put your hands on children," and they take care of business. Even the criminals. You know what I mean? They'll accept any other charge other than women and children. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have survived, he would have probably had to have been in like solitary. It's like you killed your mom. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, but
Yeah.
again, he he was, I don't know, he just being around him. It's like when things started unraveling, he was just so crazy that just and you look back because I went through and finally read all the text messages after he died, and I was like, wow. I was like, it's so sad. A lot of it is really sad. It's like if all he would have done was just realize, like, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of a mental issue. It's like, or if his mom would have done something a long fucking time ago, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I shouldn't be pointing anything at her, but
I know what you mean,
so
but you know what? You brought up another good point. We don't do anything in this country about mental health. Nothing. We
um,
get, you know it. Drive down Sahara, drive down the strip. You'll see people that don't even know they exist. They're walking around. They look like zombies. I
yep,
mean, we do absolutely nothing about mental health in this country. Really, it's crazy. We just
yeah,
let people walk around when nothing would. They're crazy, and we just let them walk around. They can hurt people. To me, it's just insane. It really is. There's
yeah.
no mental health in this country.
Yeah, it's like I had something else happen. I don't want to tie the two things together, but on a side
That's
note, I had somebody confess a murder to me 2 years ago, and
oh my god.
I've had one hell of a life. And so we went to the cops, and so, but my friend that she confessed it to her as well, she told the investigator, she goes, "Is it possible to get this person, instead of sending her to prison, could you send her to a mental health facility?" She goes, "It's a lot of up here." It's like you know what I mean? It's like, and they said it's up to the system, and it's
Yeah,
like,
I
and same
know.
thing, it's like they should all go through some type of a psychiatric evaluation.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I hate telling a lot of stories when I have a guest, but just let me tell this one. You guys will appreciate this, and I'm going to tell you how the mental health system works. I was a cop, and I got a call that this man cut his wrists. So he cut both of his wrists, and he's driving in his car. And they told me where he'd be driving. I set up the police car. I pull the guy over, and the guy pulls over. I put my lights on. He pulls over. I said to him, "Did you cut your wrist?" And he says, "Yeah." And he shows me his wrists, and there was like inch gaps with blood squirting out. Okay. I
Uh-huh.
get the ambulance there. They take him in the ambulance, everything, right? I sign him into mental health. And for people that don't know, cops could sign you into mental health. It's called the 302 commitment in Pennsylvania. You sign the mental health warrant, and they're going to be evaluated for 3 days by a doctor. Then a doctor could keep them longer if he sees fit, but then there has to be a hearing. But I signed the paperwork for him to be in there for 3 days, okay? The
Okay.
next day at 8 a.m., I come in, I come to work, I punch in, I get my police car, I drive down to the red light, and he's fucking standing at the red light
Jesus.
with bandages on both wrists. I call him over. His name was Barry. I call him over. I'm like, "Barry, did you escape from mental health?" And he goes, "No, they told me I was okay. I could leave." The guy
Oh my
cut his
God.
wrist with a buck knife, and they didn't keep him. So that is our mental health system. What does it take to be kept? What does it take to be kept? He cut himself with a buck knife in both wrists. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, and that right there, it's like, hi, physical evidence, this person is not in the right place,
Yes, I thought I wouldn't see that guy for a month. I thought they'd get him help. He'd be in mental health. Nope, out, totally out. And I swear to God, guys, I think it has to do with money. Our health system is so bad in
Yep.
this country. People can't even go get help because they can't afford it.
Yep.
It's just so bad. It really is. But yeah, I mean, I dealt with that all the time. It's so frustrating. A lot of people told me, "Did the court system frustrate you?" Mental health frustrated me more because they never kept them. Nobody ever helped anybody in the mental health system when I was a cop. I can tell you that. It's crazy.
And it's so sad because it's like the people that are sick, they don't think they're sick because to them that's reality. It's
Right,
like, so it really would take somebody like an official, like a facility to go,
right.
okay, we need to let you know that this is not reality. Like, you need to, do some deep diving, and you're like, or here's some medication, or, but then also a doctor will write a prescription, like you said, it's about money. And then off
Yes.
they go. You know what I mean?
And they could care less. And my daughter just graduated. Well, she graduated from UNLV with her master's degree 2 years ago. She's a therapist now. So I always run this stuff by her too. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
that's what she decided to do for a living. And, I just, think about these school shooters. I hate talking about school shooters, but Angie, I studied that for years. I taught active shooting, how to survive one of them incidents if you're involved, if you're there when it happens, like for citizens, not cops. Like if you hear gunshots and you hear active shooter, how do you survive that? I taught over 500 seminars. I studied the Virginia Tech incident, the Columbine incident. These guys are so crazy that do these school shootings. They want to outdo the other guy because they think that's going to make them famous. So they want to kill as many people as they can because it's going to make them famous. Honestly, that's what they think. They
Yeah.
look at that as a goal to kill as many people as they can. It's insane. It
Yeah,
really
that's crazy.
is.
Yeah, it's
And
like,
you're gonna be shocked about this. They don't do it like they don't think today, like, I'm gonna go do a shooting. They friggin' plan it. The Columbine kids planned it for a year and a half.
Wow.
The Virginia Tech kid planned it for 6 months. And what they do, Angie, is they use creatures of habit against us. We do the same thing every day. We're human beings. We
Yeah.
pull in the grocery store, we almost pull in the same spot every time. We pull in the same spot by our house every time. It's all creatures of habit. And they use that against the people of Virginia Tech and Columbine. It's crazy, but I studied these cases and there were signs that there's problems, especially with the Virginia Tech kid, and nobody did anything. Nothing. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. It's like, and so I grew up in a huge gun family. And so it's like, my parents taught us so much gun awareness that it's like,
Me too.
yeah, it's like, so that would have never crossed my mind. Anybody I know is my, you know what I mean? It's like, so again, it's like these kids are mentally ill. And it's like, also part of it is their fucking parents' problem. You know, it's like
Right.
so I used to write jokes about that.
But and you know what? Think about this now. And I don't want to get in a political debate, but when a school shooting happens, the Democrats say it's the guns, the Republicans say it's mental illness, right? But you know what? We do nothing. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
been done. Like
Yeah.
nobody does anything. Like wouldn't the Republicans say, well, let's pass this law that mandates people get mental health? Nope. We just wait for the next school shooting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do nothing as a country. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
It really is.
They're trying to thin the herd, you know what I mean? They're just like, oh, yep, and again, like you said, it's about money. So the people that actually do go for help, it's like, okay, prescription here. It's like, but the people that really, really need it, it's like things aren't being done. And those are the ones like, of course, like this son of a bitch, he didn't think he had anything wrong with him, but the stuff that would come out of his mouth, I go, that's crazy talk. And he's like, no, it's going to happen. You watch. And this is, just insane stuff,
Yeah. And I think this is the other thing, like, people don't realize is, if you're in, like, say, a Starbucks, okay, and somebody came in there with a gun, there's really nothing you could do. There's really nothing. So my thing to everybody is sit so you can see the front door. It'll give you an extra 2 seconds. Who the hell knows? That might save your life, but you'll never see me sit with my back to the door. I just don't. You know what I mean? It's so crazy to think that I don't know if you remember this. This happened right before I moved there. Wasn't there like 3 Las Vegas cops at a Starbucks and a guy came in and killed them, all 3 of them? Do you remember that?
I think
it was by Walmart.
Yeah. That might have been how long, wait a second. Was that when you first got here 9 years ago?
No, I think it was right before I moved here, a couple years before I moved here.
I think I was living in LA when that happened. So I might have heard about it.
I think it was a coffee shop for some reason. I think it was Starbucks. These 3 cops were just sitting there having coffee. The guy walked in and shot them. Like, if you're caught off guard, it doesn't matter how much you could be a Navy SEAL. If you're caught off guard, you're gonna die. And that's the scary part. That's why we need mental health. My God, and I listen, we both grew up in guns, so I'm not against guns. I'm a Second Amendment guy.
Yeah, me too.
But if you have some kind of mental health problems, you should not have a gun. A doctor should have to write something. Like if you were ever treated in mental health, a doctor should have to write something for you to get a gun. I'm sorry, I know people are going to be mad at me for saying that, but somebody with mental health problems should never have access to a gun. They really shouldn't.
Yeah, it's like, for instance, I had somebody attempt to get a temporary restraining order against me because I made fun of them on a podcast.
Oh my God.
And but I found
and listen, I heard your jokes. I wouldn't want you to tell jokes about me because you're good. You're good. I wouldn't want you to do it.
And so, of course it got thrown out because it was so ridiculous. But I found out that if it would have, and this was in California, but if it would have gotten granted to a permanent restraining order, I was never allowed to bear a firearm again.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah, if it got turned into a permanent restraining order, or maybe it was just for the span of the 4 or 5 years. But again, it was just ridiculous. It's like a comedian made fun of you on a podcast. So you're going to try to get a restraining order against them? Fuck you.
That's almost comical. That is so crazy. A judge probably laughed at that.
Oh, you should have seen. He was sitting back in his chair with his arm up, and he goes, "So let me get this straight." He goes, "They made fun of you. She made fun of you." And, it's like everything he was saying, she's like, yes, yes, yes. And he goes, she's a comedian. He's like, there's no need for a protection order here, you know? Yeah. So of course he threw that shit out. So
But I'm glad we're on the same page with the mental health because I just think, people need to be, people won't, especially men. Women will do it, but men won't. So we need to force men to do it. We got to get some kind of law that men are forced to at least go see somebody. You know what I mean? I truly believe that. I really do.
well, we need to withhold sex so that they'll go get help.
There you go. Say, listen, the judge will say there's no sex until you go get help.
Okay, so
Maybe
the
that'll
other
work
thing,
then, right? Maybe men will go get help for some reason. And you know what? It's like, and I'll just tell you this: being a cop all them years, I saw so many bad things. I can't even tell you how many bad things I've seen. And every time they would ask me, "Do I want to go get help?" They would say, "Hey, do you want to?" We'd have like a psychologist on staff where they could send us to go, seek help. And every time I would say no, because I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to be honest with you. If I did go seek help, I was a sergeant in our police department. It would have been all around the police department. Sergeant Minor's crazy. He went to seek help. Sergeant Minor's nuts. I
yeah,
swear to God, that's what would happen. And that's why cops don't go get help. And that's why we have bad cops now all over and cops making bad decisions. We need to get people help. Think about cops. Cops are fucked up because of the bad things we see. And they're
yeah,
prone to domestic violence too.
yeah. I mean, it's
You
like
know?
with all the stuff that you have seen and experienced over the years, I'm like, God, just these few traumatic things I've had happen in the past few years. And it's like I did one therapy session and it was bullshit. But I was like, I think I can, handle this a little bit better than what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? It's like, but I can't even imagine the stuff that you've had to experience in your career.
Yeah. It's just, you think about what cops do, and I know we're getting off the subject a little bit, but if you think about what cops do, I mean, it's a constant, they're seeing bad things constantly. Like somebody asked me, how many people do you think you've seen dead, right? 1,000? I mean, I don't know how many people. I probably put 200 people in body bags. I mean, what person other than a funeral director does that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, it's a job that definitely weighs on you. It's a job you take home. When I stopped being a cop, I was so happy that I wouldn't think about it anymore at home. Honest to
Yeah.
God, because I'd be watching TV thinking about it. I would be out to dinner with my family thinking about it. And it's a job that weighs on you. It really does. And I retired
Oh
early.
shit.
I retired at 47 because
Okay.
I started when I was 20. So I had 27
Oh, okay.
years in. Yeah, so that's why I retired. But yeah, so listen, this podcast was excellent. We got into a bunch of things. We really did. But what do you think if you could tell women, like from your experience, what would you do different? Is there anything you could have done different? Do you think?
The biggest lesson I learned in this whole thing was ignoring my intuition the first weekend almost got me killed. So I mean, it's like there's that reason when they say your gut that listen to your gut. It's like, and honestly, it's like I just kept being nice and giving him too many chances and trying to work on it. It's like, and so it's like, yeah, ladies, it doesn't matter how good the sex is or if they're cooking dinner or giving you a massage or whatever. It's like if they are getting to a point where, again, putting their hands on you, scaring you, it's just raising their voice, anything like that. I mean, fighting is one thing in a relationship, but just you'll know the signs. Your intuition is going to tell you. It's like just, and again, it's like think. I mean, again, if I didn't like play to his little game, I wouldn't have gotten him out of my house that day to be able to call the cops.
Yeah.
So
It's
just be
so scary. It really is.
always think twice. I mean, like again, just yeah, there's so many things. It's like, but yeah, your intuition should, just immediately listen to it and do what it's fucking telling you to do.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because in my seminars, like I said, I taught active shooting, I taught crime prevention. And Angie, I would stay on this for about 15 minutes. And I'd always say, trust your instincts. God gave them to you. If your gut is saying something's not right, it's not right. Here's the funny thing, guys. They did a study on instincts. Your gut is 90% right. 90%.
Yeah.
If our odds at them casino down on the strip was 90%, we'd all be rich. We'd be rich. So stay with your gut instincts. I agree. Totally.
Yep, absolutely. It's like that's because it's again, like you said, it's 90% right. It's gonna tell you. It's gonna, and if you have to second guess it and think for a minute, start weighing out and analyzing it. It's like, and depending on what the situation is. But
Right.
yeah, when it comes to abusive motherfuckers like this, it's like, and again, it almost cost me my life. And it's like there were times where I would sit here and go, I wonder if he stood over me when I was sleeping with a knife in his hand or something. It's like there's no amount to how crazy he was.
Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
scary. Oh my God. It I can't even think about it. I can't even think about it because I'm telling you, I swear, I'm scared for my daughters. My oldest daughter, like I said, she's 32. She called me the other day. She said, Dad, I'm done dating men. I'm not dating men ever again. That's what she told me. She said, you're not getting any more grandkids because I have one grandchild. She's like, I'm done. I'm done with men. So I told my girlfriend, I'm like, get ready. Our daughter might, I mean, your stepdaughter might come out because she said she's done with men. She said she might start dating women because she's done with men.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
mean,
but
it's
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
she was kidding, but she's serious in the same way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And men, we got to do better. And I just want to say something. I realized through my daughters that women get scared of any man that they see when they're alone. Any man feels like a threat to women. So when I get on an elevator or something, and I'm the only one on the elevator with a woman, I go on the other, the other side of the elevator, so I don't make her feel comfortable, uncomfortable. I'll look at my phone. I won't talk to her, but you'll have other creepy guys stand right next to her, talk to her on that elevator. Guys, be normal. Get on the other side of the elevator. Don't make her feel uncomfortable.
yeah, because they have to deal with that so much that it's like if you're trying to hit on her, hey, you're doing it the wrong way. Like, but
Yes.
also here's the other thing: it happened so much in such a creepy way. I had a girlfriend that was pumping gas, and the guy on the other side of the pumps, he goes, "Excuse me," he goes, "I just want to let you know you're very beautiful." And she goes, "Oh, thank you." And he goes, "Are you single? Could I take you out on a date?" And
Uh,
like, and so she was like, well, I don't know about it. Eventually she gave him her number, right? And but all of her friends were like, how creepy. I can't believe. And I was like, no, how do you think we did it before dating apps? That's how you would ask someone out. You do it at the grocery store.
yes.
I was like, if he was genuine about it, well, I guess he was a douchebag on their first date.
In high school, we didn't have text messages. We'd pass notes. We didn't have
Yeah,
phones.
yeah,
Hey,
there
I
we
like
go.
you. Pass that note over to them, right?
Yeah, or you'd have to get a pager to see who wanted to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, the pagers. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's crazy too. Well, listen, I want to thank you for coming on. Could you tell us where you're going to be next if people want to go see you? Guys, let me tell you, Angie's a great comedian. She's funny as hell. And the language, if you get offended by language, you don't want to listen to her.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a very clean comic. You know what? I don't have anything. I don't have anything coming up right now. My day
Uh-huh.
job's really busy during the holidays. I'm a hairdresser, if anybody cares.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I
but
just,
if
I
anybody
just got a
wants to,
haircut. You guys should have known that.
oh yeah, if you need your hair done, let me know.
All right. I will. Honest to
But
God, I'm always looking for somebody to cut my hair.
oh god, yeah, yeah, text me.
All
Um,
right.
but yeah, if anybody wants to follow me on social media, it's Angie KRUM. It says right there, and Instagram is at Crumb Shots, all one word.
Okay. And you know what? Listen, what I do with this podcast, Angie, is I'll get little clips. I'll post them on YouTube. I'll post them all over. The good clips of this, and I'll make sure I send them to you.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. I hope you come on anytime.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I can tell you
All
about the
right.
other crime that I spoke of.
All right. Yeah, you're invited anytime. Just let me know and you can come on. And I'm sure I'll see you because I want to try this comedian thing. Maybe at an open mic night or something.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we could talk about that too, or you can ask our mutual friend too.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.